If you are just tuning in, this is NBC's Sheila Mac show here on KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no listener behind. I'm your host, Sheila Mac, and I have a special free gift announcement for you. That's right. Get a free introduction to the Boots formula and meditation by joining our email list for business leaders, busy moms, and rock stars like you. To get your free gift, just go to www.sheilamac.com/free gift. That's right, sheilamac.com/free gift for your gift today.
Are you ready for a reboot? Welcome to the Sheila Mac Show, reality at its finest. History reminds us those hit hardest often become the change makers. This year, we've all hit crazy economic, social, and emotional rock bottoms. We all get knocked down. Something hits globally, locally, personally. It affects our health, finances, our relationships. We have to recreate a business or career. Each show, Sheila and her special guest will be sharing their reboot stories, guiding you with real solutions to upgrade and up-level emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially. Here on NBC's KCAA Radio. If you're ready to pull yourself up by the bootstraps and bra straps, enjoy a listen. Here's Sheila.
Welcome to the Sheila Mac Show, reality at its finest. Here we have real people sharing real stories and actionable steps to help you reinvent, rebuild, and reboot your business and personal life on your terms. I'm your host, Sheila Mac, and today we have special guest, Cheryl Fidelman.
Fidelman.
Okay, I should have asked. And she is a conscious codependent coach. Cheryl's mission is to eradicate trauma from the human condition, one nervous system at a time. She is a leader and thought provoker in the human potential movement and believes that codependence is the most obvious way that we demonstrate our unhealed trauma in relationship with others. Conscious codependence is a methodology that she has developed that heals trauma from the nervous system such that her clients can be who they were innately born to be, not who they were traumatized into being. Trauma steals our potential. In her work, we steal it back. To be up to date on Cheryl's work and offerings and to get her free online codependent listening series, you can go to www.theconsciouscodependencyseries.com. All right, welcome to the show, Cheryl.
Thanks for reading all that, Sheila.
Now I can take my glasses off because I can't see without them really. But the truth is codependence, I think it's so subtle sometimes when people have been through a trauma that they don't even see it until the healing begins. Many times they don't realize. I'd love to hear your take on that, and really starting this show off, share about a time where you what that brought you to this. Maybe a time where you experienced a tough situation in your business or personal life related to what you're doing, and how you got back on track.
Well, how long do you have? So I was raised by a wildly mentally unstable woman, my mom. And so my codependence started, I would say, when I was 6, when my mom abused my dad. And when my dad left when I was 6, the abuse went to me and my brother. And she would like rage out, like something would trigger her and she would just go dark and just rage. Like she'd be gone and just rage would take over for days. And so I became very people pleasing. I really became incredibly aware of how much space I should take up and when. And, you know, in my work, I talk about overt and covert trauma. Mm-hmm. So overt trauma is a really obvious event or series of events. alcoholic parent, rape, car accident. These are things like, oh, I can point to this and I can point to this event. And those certainly cause trauma and ripple effects in people's lives. And then there's what I call covert trauma, which is a very subtle event or series of events that you can't quite point to, but like over time, the trauma settles in your system and it forms your identity. Now, I had a really obvious situation where my mom was like, just would go wild in her psyche for days. And I really had to take up very little space during that time, because if I took up any space, it would make her more angry. And so I really lived in in my mom's reality. And I formed an identity of somebody who was living in somebody else's reality and people pleasing and making sure she's taken care of more than I'm taken care of, which is a big codependent habit. Making sure that she's safe and calm and taking care of her so that I can feel calm. But there are plenty of people who didn't have like a super obvious crazy parent like I did, but their parents' personality was powerful and dominant nonetheless. Ooh, did I lose you?
I'm here. You may have a weak internet. My internet is plugged in directly.
Here you are. I think I had a call coming in, and so it took
okay.
Took my screen. So when it comes to, I started my codependence recovery when I was 15. I went into a program called Codependence Anonymous, which is a program for codependence, which I highly recommend to people. If you want a free option, you can't afford therapy or you can't afford a coach, or you want something that you can go to like every day. I mean, these 12-step programs, you can go, to several meetings a day or one a week or whatever fits your schedule. But I think it's a good point that you raised that, codependence is sort of, it's like everywhere. It's like, I look at it like it's an epidemic. I also sometimes refer to it like it's fascia. Like, if anybody out there knows what fascia is, I know very little about it, but I know that I at least know that it's the tissue that covers everything: our cells, our organs, our muscles. It's just interwoven with everything. And that's how I feel like codependence is for some of us. It's interwoven in everything. And in how we behave and how we interact and how we view ourselves when it comes to interactions, how we think other people view us. And ultimately, when it comes to our relationship with our emotions, I often say for us codependents, some have more codependent behaviors than others. And there's so many different ones. But that my simple definition is that my experience depends on yours. That's what I mean when I say codependence.
Right.
So my happiness depends on you, right? So if I'm happy, you must have done that to me. If I'm sad, you must have done that to me. If I'm angry, you must have done that to me. If I don't feel safe, it must be because of you. So we go outside of ourselves for every feeling and every emotion.
Yes, I hear that.
Yeah. And so I call my work conscious codependence, because it's not necessarily like my work is about just stopping being codependent, but it's about becoming aware and conscious of how much these codependent behaviors are kind of like all over our experience.
Yes, and we attract more of the same many times because we're in a codependent way of having friendships or having relationships in any form, because that's what we knew originally. And I say we because I came from the same, your mom's story and my mom's story, I think they may be twins. Holy smokes. And and so I mean 10 years old I was homeless and then in foster care, and I don't think I ever had parenting. I parented my mom, and there was so much abuse, terrible abuse from grandparents, mother, everybody, until I had to leave for safety. And being on the streets was far safer than being home. So it was very interesting. And I would, when I was younger, catch myself always saying yes, people pleasing, that whole going down that whole journey. And I didn't even know. I was not even aware that there was a word or a codependence word, or how did
Mhm.
this affect me, until
Mhm.
later. And it was a lot of work. And I remember reading books and going to different therapy and programs and learning about it. And the first time I told someone no, it was like I had said the F word or something
Mhm.
really. I was like, no came out, and I was like, oh, I said no. And it was, and now it's like my thing. But 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 it took such a long time. And I think for me personally, I really guard and check my relationships often and make sure that they're healthy. But I do see, that there are people that don't even see that that's what they're living in. And it's because I've walked through it, like you've walked through it, where you understand, oh, yeah, I know that. I know it well. And so it's one of those things that it takes a while to even be aware of the situation.
Yeah, and it's because of what I call our traumatic identity.
Hmm.
So the identity that I developed to survive my mother's psychology is then the person I became in life and in the world.
Oh, wow. Okay. Got it.
And so the world is my mother, everybody I meet is my mother. And
Mm,
so everybody I meet, I'm taking care of them. I'm trying to handle their psychology. I'm trying to tell them how they should be thinking.
yeah.
Because with my mother, she had so many like paranoid and like hallucinating kind of
Mm,
ideas of what was happening that I
oh,
I, I often had to tell her, like, explain reality to her. And
right.
so I grew up doing that to people, like
Mm,
explaining reality to them. And so when well, number one, they weren't asking me to explain reality. Number two, probably was even wrong in what I was saying to them, but I was just addicted to telling people how to think. I mean, it's just, and it happened a lot in my romantic relationships, because in our romantic relationships recreate our holding environment as children more than any other relationship. And so, I would just date guy after guy after guy where I dated 9 alcoholics in a row. So I laugh at that, but it's really what happened. My mom wasn't an alcoholic, but it still recreated that, taking care of them, handling their personality and handling their world and telling them that they should have a different reality. And again, not that I was right in what I was telling them. It's just that that was my traumatic identity. That's who I was being. That's how I was. And until I did enough healing where I could pop out of it and go, oh my gosh, those are habitual ways of being.
mm,
That's my traumatic identity. That's not me.
right.
That's not my true nature. That's not my true self. My true self isn't trying to heal another person so that I can feel safe and
Right.
heal another person so that I could be like a martyr. That's how I was with my mom. Like, I needed her to go, oh my God, you did such a good job. You showed me reality. Great. Let's go get a slice of pizza. It was just like, you know, I just I wanted to set her straight and be good in her eyes, because she was always mad at me. Um, the other thing that I want to say about my work, conscious codependence, is I have what I call my 3 tenets of conscious codependence. And for the listeners, you can write this down if you want and take this out into your life and see if it serves you. My 3 tenets of conscious codependence are the want to be wanted, the need to be needed, and the need to prove oneself.
Mm,
So at any given moment, if you're in a dynamic where your behavior is trying to preserve the want to be wanted, the need to be needed, or you're trying to prove yourself, you're trying to prove your goodness, you're trying to prove your worth, you're trying to prove your identity, you're trying to prove something about the relationship or prove that you're right, you're in a codependent moment, or you're trapped in a behavior of your traumatic identity. that's trying to survive in that moment.
That is so interesting. I just think for me, and I mean, my mom's stories go back to, my gosh, she got taken away when I was like 3 or 2.5 or so because she tried to kill me and I stopped breathing with her hands around my neck, and this was normal. So she was very intense, and she had things going on. She had polio, and she had one time she had tuberculosis, and then she had her mental things going on, and she was abused by the grandparents who thought the only way to teach someone to be normal is to beat it into them. So they would beat her terribly, and I would get in the middle so that she wouldn't be hurt. And then they beat me. And then, so I get beaten from both. Everybody was beating on me. I was like, this is awesome. So it was difficult. But what really was through my journey personally was when I realized, oh my gosh, these parents that I was born into, somehow this was the plan. I don't know why, but that's what the plan was. They, obviously she wasn't in her healthiest mental state from the abuse of the grandparents, from her own whatever was going on. And I think that if, like, you're talking about the healing of your conscious codependent yourself and who you would be if you were not having to be in that position. And I think if my mother was whole in her wholeness, she would want me to be safe, and she would want me to have really good boundaries around that relationship in order to live a good life, because that's what you would want for your daughter. So she doesn't have the capacity to do that. So I'd have to set those boundaries. And it's hard to set boundaries with people that are like very needy like that, because they will push the boundary and push it. So I don't know, that for me was a release of the responsibility of, it wasn't my responsibility. It doesn't put her as a bad person. It was the situation at hand. She did the best she could, and she would want me to make the best choices for me, which sometimes meant if it wasn't safe to see her, or we had to have the children visit her in a safe environment only under certain conditions, that's the way it had to be. So it was really a big one for me, that it just really filled me up.
Well, I think it's really beautiful that you got to a point where you were able to understand your mother and understand her upbringing and why she became the person that did the thing to you, right? And I think that that's one of the most important parts of either codependence recovery, because not everybody identifies as codependent, but it's also one of the most important things of simply maturing and growing up, that we no longer need our parents to get us and understand us. Yeah. We don't need it anymore. It's not a real need. It's like a luxury, but it's not like a real actual need. The more we're hooked on our parents getting us and understanding us, then we're in a regressive state with our parents. But once we realize as we mature that it's just our job to simply get them and understand them and see them, and we don't need that from them anymore, I think that's huge in our healing journey and in our journey of becoming wiser adults and maturing.
And when I had that transition where I did that first no many years ago, and it came out like, oh my God, I said a bad word. Oh my gosh, it's no. It came out of my mouth. After that, it was a slow process. It wasn't like one day everything was fine and I didn't go to that pattern, obviously. And I still guard it, you know what I mean? But it was such a journey for me that there was a release of blame on anybody. And there was also a huge release of anybody or anything being responsible. You talked earlier about your happiness. And I said, no, I own my happiness. Things happen to us in our planet, in our world right now, but that doesn't control my happiness. I'm the one that gets to be in charge of that. And if I give that power, it kind of puts me in a victim state. If I say, because, this is going on the planet, or this person said something mean, or who knows whatever it is, it could be something each day. When I stopped empowering others and gave myself, I guess it's self-love and empowerment to say, you know what? I'm deciding I'm going to have a good day anyway. I'm deciding that's not really about me. Maybe it's about them. It's okay. I'm not blaming them, but I'm not blaming myself. I'm going to do my best today and tomorrow. And I let go of a lot of that. And that was very peaceful too. That like, it's my happiness. Nobody gets it. So one year I remember I had a tax audit, and I was like, what happened was I brought it to H&R Block because I didn't make that much money that year. It was like an okay year, it was basic taxes, and they put the they added many zeros. So they thought I had made like 3,500,000 or something. And I was like, no, I'm not really that concerned because I never saw that. But my friend heard about it, and she said, oh, I think I would just die if I got a tax audit. It would be terrible. It'd be the worst thing. And I'd be like, I'm just going to be happy anyway. If they can find that 3,500,000, good for them. They can have it. I don't know where it is, but it was that deciding I wasn't going to let it affect me.
Mm-hmm.
I hired people to help. I had to pay money to deal with this audit. I had to, pay a tax guy and all that. But in the long run, obviously, they realized it was a mistake. And I think I made $65 or something on my side. So it was kind of cool. But I lost because I paid the guy. But anyway, it was that kind of, I guess, and the more you live in life and the more crazy things happen, you think, you know what? Do I really need to be attached to that for my happiness?
Well, it's a good point, and that word "attach" is a really good, important word when it comes to those of us who identify as codependent or have a couple of codependent behaviors that we want to work on. We're so attached.
Yeah.
A lot of us are so attached and don't even really know that we are. We are, and what you're sharing is an example of your mood is your mood, and it's not going to be impacted by a circumstance.
Right.
And for a lot of us, we're so impacted by circumstance because we don't innately feel safe in the world. Mm-hmm. And so there are so many things that can trigger. See, I'm not safe. You see, I'm not safe. You see, I'm not safe. We might not be consciously thinking that, but there's sensations in the nervous system. There's a cognitive reaction. And a lot of it is because we're not feeling safe. Mm. And, if someone's mad at us, or someone's not understanding us, or someone's not paying attention, it can be, as subtle as facial, like facial configurations, like, oh, this person looked away, or whatever it was. If you were as deep in codependence as I was, I wanted the mailman to like me, like I was so, like everybody was what I looked for my existence in everybody.
Mm. So on your healing journey, was there a lot of self-love work that happened for you?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's a broad term. But for me, I think Codependence Recovery is self-love, because mm-hmm. It's so much work about learning what it feels like in my body, learning my own interpretations of things, because for so many of us, we are the last person to get to know, mm-hmm. especially those of us who are codependents. We know everybody else. Our spouses, our partners, our friends, our bosses, we could tell you what they mean. We can interpret them. We could tell you how their psychology works. We can tell you what they need, what they don't need, what they want. But it's hard for us to tell you all that about ourselves.
Mm.
And we're not always right when we project and interpret them. Well, I know what they said. I know what they meant. I know what he wants. I know what she wants. We're not always right, but codependence is also a very righteous way of being as well sometimes.
Mhm. Yeah, I can see that in some cases, like trying so hard to change another person, a friend, a relationship, to make them what you consider right,
Mm,
or healthy or safe or whatever, when it's like, no, they get to be them, and it's that interdependence, that independence that's missing,
mhm,
where
mhm,
it's safe for the partner or spouse to go do their thing and be their own, have their own temperament, and that's okay. And you have this agreement together of how that works when you're together as a couple, but then you have your time to be away and there's no fear of abandonment, or
mhm,
it's not a personal attack if somebody wants to go do something different than the other spouse or partner or whatever. And so that's a bit, I find that a lot. That comes up a lot with people when I work with couples, that
mhm.
one person wants the other one to be the way they think is right. And it's like, oh my gosh, that's a lot. That's a lot to ask of an adult, to do everything on
Yeah,
that you.
and also what you're proposing is like, if you're my wife and I'm telling you this is how you should be,
Yeah.
what I'm not doing is actually seeing who you are.
Yeah. The whole part of
So
who you are.
there's a gap between who I think you should be and who you
Mhm.
actually are.
Yes. Yes. And
Mhm.
to make that person you, or become so much like you that they lose their identity and their self. If you are just tuning in, this is NBC's Sheila Mac Show here on KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no listener behind. You can also connect with me on Patreon as well as on YouTube under Sheila Mac Show. Now, I'd like to give a special thank you and shout out to our guest today, our special guest speaker, and that was Cheryl. And she was sharing about an event that is coming up, and that is the fifth Conscious Codependent series. It is Soul versus Trauma. Heal your trauma and lead from your soul in health, sex, family, and money. These will be interviews with behavioral experts from around the globe. You will hear from 18 speakers on how to move from leading with your trauma to leading with your soul. Now, this is a free online series, and in order to sign up, it is coming up next week, this free series. And to attend, you get your ticket free at www.soulvs, that's for verses, soulvstrauma.com. That's soulvstrauma.com, and I look forward to seeing you there. I will be one of the speakers at the event, so I hope you all tune in. If you are just tuning in, this is NBC's Sheila Mac Show here on KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no listener behind. I'm your host, Sheila Mac, and today I'd like to give a special thank you and shout out to the sponsors of this episode, TeamTreehouse.com. So let me tell you a little bit about Team Treehouse. Are you ready to launch your new career in coding? Treehouse has one of the best and most affordable online classrooms for you. At Treehouse, we've rethought the learning process and built a proven system to get you the skills and knowledge you need to achieve your goals. When you're done with the course, you haven't just watched a video, you learned, practiced, and absorbed a concept. Or choose to build a portfolio, create a network, and land your dream job with our boot camp style Teach Degree program. Land a development job this year. Whatever your goal, we'll get you there. Start your 7-day free trial today, and all you need to do to get started is go to www.teamtreehouse.com. Yes, yes, and that happens a lot, especially like I see it with the situation with the pandemic, where now the spouses are working together at home and they live together and they're supposed to do their social stuff together and have this relationship, and there's no apart time. there's no there's no looking forward to see you because you're everywhere. And they start to kind of, do that a lot. And so it's a big thing that's happened with the switch in how we work lately. Have you seen that at all with this pandemic?
I have. I mean, it's really individual to each couple. Often what I've seen is that it's exacerbating what was already there, that was being, maybe swept under the rug, or, it's easier to not notice it if one person's not home for 10 hours a day, and then then you're home for the 2 or 3 hours you have together, and you can ignore the stuff that doesn't work because it's just a few hours at the end of the day. But when you're home together, it just highlights what's already not working. But also when you're spending more time together, well, I hate to take broad strokes like this, but look, communication is the number one part of any relationship. And when it comes to romantic relationships, we are often, this thing keeps getting caught in my hair, sorry. We are often projecting our dominant parent onto our partner. So for a lot of us, our partner becomes our dominant parent. And for a lot of relationships, we're in a regressive mode for a lot of that time. And when I say dominant parent, your dominant parent could have been massively submissive and you had to take care of them. So, dominance can mean many, many different things.
Very true.
But very often, more times than not, people get into room. And my work around codependence, conscious codependence recovery, isn't just for people in romantic relationships, but what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. More often than not, people are getting into romantic relationships. They're getting married without an agreement that this is a healing contract.
Exactly. Yeah.
When you get married, or you're in any sort of romantic relationship, it's a perfect mirror for all of your unhealed trauma. So both parties, it's important for them to be prepared for all this stuff to come up. But a lot of people are not prepared for marriage in that way.
It's no wonder people don't want to get married. I'm thinking now single sounds really good for me. And I've been married and it was very hard. But
the thing is that it's I mean, I know plenty of couples who are in very, very healthy, happy, beautiful marriages. It's also a tradition. Human beings are very, very great with context, tradition, and loyalty. I mean, we're great with it. We're great with passing down the way we think. We're very well trained as to the way life should go. We're just really well trained. And the kind of transformation that happens to a human, and from 5-year marriage to 10-year marriage to 20-year marriage, from your 20s to 30s to 40s to 50s, we are evolving and transforming whether we're efforting to or not. And so it's important for the marriage to hold that container as well, of both people evolving and transforming. And sometimes one person goes, oh my gosh, I've evolved so much more past my partner. What do I do? And then it's hard for people to leave or break down the kind of form of their life that they know. Well, we've been together for 10 years, 20 years. We have children. This is the form of our life. This is my identity and their identity and the roles that we play. And there's so much constructed and created. So anyway, that's a whole nother
it is
into the marriage world.
it's about identity though. When my book and what I talk about a lot on the show is when you go through a tough situation, you're unplugging from your identity. You have to change your identity many times. You get divorced, you lose a loved one, your kids grow up, or your responsibilities, your career changes.
Identity had to peel away for you when you lost your home, when you lost everything. I mean, that must have been a huge training ground in identity for you.
It was like I got demoted in a minute when I lost my home to the Ventura fire, and my car and my cat all in the same day. And I was like, wow, how did this happen? And now I'm starting from scratch, and it is a tough road, and it has so much to do with mindset. I had to put the training I had from all the events and things that I attended and learned from and training I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to put this to the test, because I don't know. It was, and you subtly slip into depression and you don't even know, because that's a little subtle thing. I don't really do depression, but I kind of did for a week or so. And then I was like, I gotta do something different to get myself out of this state, or else I'll be stuck here for years. And it's one of those things that I think when we have trauma in our past life, we use it in different ways depending on who you are, and many have learned to use it as a tool. Like you and I, we've done some training and we're working through it, and then when something comes up, it's a little easier because we've had so much study in it, and you can apply things, but it's still hard. It's still not easy. I lost my son in 2019, my youngest out of 6. I adopted three of my own, and that was probably harder than anything. Even the house thing was like, oh well, whatever, that was stuff. And he had a heart condition, and huge for us, for a family, and just you think you're over it, and then a holiday hits and you're like, oh, grieving again. And that's okay to have those emotions. You don't always have to be strong. And I think coming from the codependent thing, where I had to be the strong one for the mom, you had to be the strong one for the mom. It's okay. We don't have to always be happy.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's being strong, but it's also feeling safe to feel. A lot of people, the people that I work with I work with achievers and analyzers, where, life just occurs like above the neck, and we're thinking through everything. Thinking through it and analyzing it, and I'll figure it out.
Right.
And for a lot of us, we weren't raised to be, number one, safe to feel.
Yeah.
Take up space with our feelings and emotions. And also, a lot of us have this trauma where, I call it perception trauma, where you're not trained to have the right emotional reaction for the stimulus. In other words, my mom's screaming and freaking out and throwing things. If I had the right emotional reaction to that, or the accurate or equal, I probably would have screamed my face off, ran out of the house,
right.
Called 911. But my mom is going crazy, and I'm clamping it down, and I'm acting like this isn't really affecting me. I'm analyzing her behavior.
Yeah.
And so we're not trained to have appropriate emotional reactions to the stimulus. So some of us are just so disassociated from, how am I supposed to feel with this? I don't know. I'll just figure it out or something.
Yeah. I've worked really hard on being aware and having long talks with my grown kid. The first few months, it was like, if you need to wake me, or somebody needs to cry or scream or yell, we can do that. You can do that. It's a safe thing to do. And we got to do that. And I don't think that we would be so far along with the healing process without letting the emotions out. I feel like they get stuck inside if you don't let them out.
Mm-hmm.
And they show up in a manifestation of a physical ailment, or the manifestation of some other bad habits that come back into your life, or whatever. And so it's best to just let them out. But it was only because of all the training and work I've done. And it was like I had to be okay with that. And so, that's definitely a road to take. Now, I'd love to hear, if someone were to contact your program, what does it look like for someone who's maybe struggling with codependence right now and looking to work with you? What would that look like for someone?
Well, I start everyone with a free consultation. It's a free 45-minute consultation, because I applaud people who want to find a healer, and I take it very seriously. And so I want to make sure that my work resonates and my feedback resonates, and we resonate with each other. so that's why I give the free consultation, just to make sure that it's a match. Because I always tell people, finding your coach or therapist or healer is like dating. Try a few of them until you really find one that fits. So yeah, we start with a free consultation, and I have the 6-month private conscious codependence program, which is all private sessions. And I also have a 10-month. It's called the Conscious Codependence Expedited Codependence Recovery Program. So this is my 10-month expedited codependence recovery program. It's a group program. We start our next one in June, actually. And it's wildly effective. Just wildly effective. Yeah. I've taken all of my formal training, my own healing journey, which I think has taught me more than my formal training, my own healing journey. And I've put it all into the 30 videos and distinctions of the group program, and we meet live, and yeah, it's really deep and beautiful.
Nice. That's wonderful. And we have something coming up. You have a program coming up, an event, and I got to be in that event.
Yes.
So I'd love
it's called the Covert Trauma series. It's www.soulvstrauma.com, Soul versus Trauma. It's my 5th free conscious codependence series, where I interviewed you, Sheila, and you told us your amazing story about what you do for people and the fire that you experienced, and just how you reboot and help people reboot and rebuild. And so this series is 18 speakers, and I wanted to call this one Soul versus Trauma, because I do so much trauma work with people, so much nervous system healing, and for some of us it's like a long, deep path to do a lot of this healing. And so I wanted to focus on why are we doing this work. So we have our traumatic identity, we have our life led by our unhealed trauma, and then what's on the other side of that is life led by our true nature, or our soul's purpose. Are the purest version of ourselves. So a lot of the speakers are talking about, what's on the other side of all this healing.
Yes.
And so, because I want to just keep cheerleading and championing people, keep going, keep doing it. I promise you it's worth it. I promise you'll meet yourself on the other side. And for some of us, it's a totally unpredictable version of ourselves.
Right. On this road.
Agreed.
It's not something that's over, like one day you're healed or whatever. It's a process in life, and we're always discovering and learning more. But for me, when I freed myself from the need to please others or the need to be what somebody else wanted, and I found who I really am, I was like, folks, who I am.
Yeah, that's the beauty of life, isn't it?
You know what? This is bizarre. The other people liked me for just me being me far more than me trying to make anybody like me. They were like, oh, thank goodness, somebody honest, somebody real. And it was refreshing. And they were like, okay, if you take off your mask, I'm going to take off mine.
There you go.
Conversations. I have incredible friends. And I think that the journey through this is sometimes letting go of unhealthy relationships. And there's a little bit of time where you might have to do some alone self-work, in groups and other things, yes, but where you feel maybe, oh, well, then I've lost these friends. But were they really aligned friends? Because once you get to that other side, you get aligned, and you get aligned real friends that are the soulmate, the people that you're supposed to have in your life. Boom. And it feels so much better. It's just easier, so much easier.
Yeah.
So, that's my comment. So I am excited for this. And I will be sharing right after our interview here. I am going to share the link again for those listening in, so you can join. It is a free program. So I hope anyone interested, or if you know anyone, that you can send them on over. And now, Cheryl, before we go, do you have one thing, if you could go back in time and tell your younger self going through the situation that you had, what would you tell your younger self that was kind of stuck in the situations of the codependence? What would you say?
My younger self, like as far back as what, like 6 years old or
6 or 10, somewhere in that range, somewhere where it was like, if I could whisper in your ear, honey, this is what I'd tell you, what would you say?
Speak up and trust what it is that you have to say. And you're not a prisoner in anybody's world.
Yes.
Yeah, and I want everybody to know that that series, once you sign into the series, you'll then be in what I call my Conscious Codependence Collective. And so I send out lots of free videos that I call Fridays with Fidelman. So I send out videos every Friday. We have free monthly classes. So you'll be sort of in the world of my work once you enter into that free series.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right. Well, Cheryl, thank you again for being a guest on the show. And for those tuning in, we'll be
Sheila, thanks for having me.
back after these messages. All right. Stay tuned.
Dear Sheila, my husband and I have been married for 30 years, have just sent our last child out into the world, and they recently started college. We both are professionals and each have our own hobbies and have grown apart over the years. Help! Who is this man I have lived with, raised my children with, and now I'm looking across from our large family dining room table from? It is like a stranger. The house is quiet, the meals are smaller, our jobs have been scaled down, and now we have time and don't know what to do with each other. We are not arguing, but we really don't communicate. It is getting to be very uncomfortable. I'm actually scared. I know we are now the empty nesters, but I'm afraid that we have grown apart for so many years. I am not sure where to start. Sheila, do you have some suggestions on how we can get to know each other again, have joy with each other, and start this new season of our lives? Signed, Empty Nesters. Dear Empty Nesters, wow, what an incredible life you've had, parenting your children, having amazing careers, and now it's your time. It's time to start over, to start dating again, start having fun again. It sounds to me like you had some common ground with how to raise your children, and you did an incredible job getting your last one off to college now. Things will change again when later you have children getting married, grown children maybe having grandchildren. So you have this space, this beautiful space and time in your life where you can actually get to know your other half, your husband or wife. You can go do fun things together. I would start by dating each other again. I would start by having fun. Go do the things that you wanted to do that you couldn't afford to do because you were paying for all these things for your kids. Extracurricular activities get to be yours now. What is the one vacation you wanted to do that you didn't have time to do? Now that your careers are slowing down a little bit, you have time, you're more established, you can go have fun with that. You may want to just do something as simple. One of the fun things that I loved to do was to write down simple things that you both love to do. It could be 10 different things or 20 different things you love to do, maybe 30, and you write it down and you literally put it in a bowl or a hat. And you would just pick one day a week or 2 days a week where you just pull something from the hat. It could be, if you're in California, a trip to Catalina, or if you're in New York, you're going to take a boat ride around the Statue of Liberty or something like that. So think of fun things you like to do. It could be going to a concert or out to dinner. And spontaneity, bring spontaneity back into your marriage because now you don't have all those things again. And I would play games, get to know each other. What are you looking for, or what did you stop doing that you love to do that you kind of had to put down because you were raising kids and working? Was it a sport, an activity? Maybe you like to hike, and maybe now you're going to start by doing gentle hikes or walks together. Maybe it was something that you both love to do, to go dancing. You can take dancing classes again. So have fun with that and get back to us and let us know how that's going. As always, I wish you life, love, laughter, and light. Necessitated. You need a guide to show you how we get through a situation like this, to give you resources and to help you get out of the emotional pea soup fog of dealing with a crisis and the resulting fallout. I've been there, and I'm here to help you. Out of the fog. If you weren't emotionally bound up in your situation, you would have more clarity. You would be able to see your best options for dealing with whatever comes up. If the version of yourself who has already walked through this rock bottom and come out the other end could go back in time and give you, the you right now, some advice, what would she say? Would she tell you to slow down, to stop rushing, that you don't have to have all the answers today? Would the future you recommend not making any major decisions without reviewing them first, particularly while you're still in the fog? Would she tell you that normal is going to look different for a while, but that you will feel normal again? In case we haven't invented time travel by the time you read this book, I'm here to tell you all of the above. I developed the Boots formula to help you learn to make choices, have a life shift, and make great things happen based on your individual values and best life vision. A change is going to happen, and it's worth it. There's a stage where it feels like everyone in your life is picking at you. Life itself may seem like it's trying its best to stop you from doing whatever you want to do. All you hear is, "That's a stupid idea," and "That's never going to work," and "Who do you think you are?" One of the hardest things for people to do is to realign and possibly walk away from anything and anyone that conflicts with their value systems. But you are going to discover that power within yourself. Through the activities and examples in this book, you will discover your true north and will be able to easily do what is needed to move forward with your life. Anything that hurts you, that doesn't resonate for you, that fights against what you want and believe in, you are going to give it the boot. Once you have turned your rock bottom moment into a positive, beautiful life shift, you can live your life on your terms. Your life will probably look different, but you get to design it this time. You are taking your life back, and you are in charge, not anybody else. Sooner than you can imagine, you'll be in the career of your dreams or the relationship you always wanted. Because you are going to learn to develop healthy boundaries. Because you are going to do things differently along the way from here to there. You will begin to attract the people, the job, the place to live, all of the opportunities that align with who you are, your essence, your truth, not anybody else's or even society's expectations of the way you're supposed to be. Once you have accepted that you are in charge of living your life and you begin to embody living your truth, people are going to see you. They're going to be inspired by you. Then you're going to hear, "Hey, can you show me how you did that? I want to do it too." When you assess your peer group and up-level according to your life purpose and vision, and once you have created a life shift for yourself, whatever that looks like, your life is not just full, it's fulfilled. Not only do you get more and better sleep, you wake up feeling rested and happy. You know that you're doing what you need to do. Yes, sometimes your heart will call you to leave certain friends or family members in order to find a more aligned peer group. From what I've seen, however, the ones who leave always return to lead their family and friends to success. Because your friends are more in alignment with your beliefs and value system, they support you while also pushing you toward your personal best. Life still involves work, but as a whole, it feels far more effortless. But you don't have to wait for the right person, right job, or right investment opportunity to show up. You can start living now so that every moment as you go forward through the process of recovering from rock bottom and redesigning your life is one more step to being the best version of you, the one who came.
All right, if you are looking to reinvent life on your terms, if you are grieving, experiencing financial turmoil, career shifts, relationship problems, parenting, elder care, victims of abuse, breaking free from an addiction, or seeking an overall business and lifestyle redesign, then you may need a reboot. It is not
fits all, just like a pair of boots or a bra. So the formula is designed to help you through any situation.
This is Sheila Mac. Thank you again for tuning in, and I have some homework for you. So go and get your copy of the new Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. It is now on Amazon, Audible, Kindle, and all major bookstores. And get ready to tune in daily as I share the Business Leader Reboot. So that is starting a business, side business, or extra income. I don't care if you're starting from zero, rebooting, starting over completely. We are going to go through the steps over this year slowly together to rebuild, reboot, and reinvent your business and personal life, or your career and personal life on your terms. And I will also be sharing about investing in properties and how to get some passive income going this year as well. So stay tuned. If you are just tuning in, this is NBC's Sheila Mac Show here on KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no listener behind. I'm your host, Sheila Mac, and I have a special free gift announcement for you. That's right. Get a free introduction to the Boots formula and meditation by joining our email list for business leaders, busy moms, and rock stars like you. To get your free gift, just go to www.sheilamac.com/free gift. That's right, sheilamac.com/free gift for your gift today.
Have you lost your job? Have you lost a loved one? Are you exhausted caring for your parents, for your kids? Well, you can find immediate relief when you read Sheila Mac's new #1 bestseller, Bootstraps and Bra Straps. It contains the Boots formula to move from rock bottom back into action in any situation, especially right now. If life has knocked you down, pick yourself up with Bootstraps and Bra Straps. Get your copy at www.sheilamac.com today.